The meeting is live.
It's 7 o'clock, and I would like to call this regular meeting of Kimberley City Council to order for April the 26th, 2021, held here on the Tanaha homelands. Welcome, everybody. First order of business this evening, as usual, is the ministerial order, allowing us to conduct this both here in council chamber with council, plus online with staff and others. Councillor Goodwin, thank you. Councillor McBain seconds. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Do we have any additional items, Maurice?
There's no late items.
All right, hearing none, could I have a mover to adopt the agenda? Councillor McBain and Councillor Kiddo seconds. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Councillor Oakley was in favor of that, I presume?
Sorry, I can hear you in the other room as well.
Thanks, Daryl. All right, so we have no delegations this evening. So first up, we have a zoning amendment bylaw 2687.
Excuse me.
And the motion is that council approve first reading.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
We have to adopt the minutes first.
Oh, from the previous meeting. All right, we will take one step back, and Councillor Dalla moves adoption of the minutes of the meeting held on April the 12th, seconded by Councillor Roberts. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Thank you, Maurice. Getting a little bit ahead of myself. So the zoning amendment is to approve first reading and direct staff to work with the applicant to refine the zoning amendment. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Kiddo, thank you. And Councillor McBain seconds. Discussion. Troy, can you walk us through this?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I just wanted to introduce this proposed zoning amendment here that applies to the property at 595 305th Avenue. This property has remained unimproved, undeveloped for quite some time. There was some prior zoning and development review from quite a few years ago, back in 2005, 2006 timeframe. And previous development that was approved for there has never proceeded. Property's been on and off the market for a number of years. We've had quite a few inquiries about it in our office for over that time period, and often there's some requests to modify the zoning on the property as part of potential plans for development. The current or the owner of the property has been the owner since the previous development was considered. He's applied to modify the existing R10 zoning. Actually, he applied to amend the zoning in general. We're recommending that we modify we consider modifying the R10 zoning of the property, as it only applies to this particular property at the moment. And the applicant or the owner is looking to really improve kind of the options or the flexibility for future development on the site as part of the potential sale of the property. So we've worked with them to date to try to look at some alternatives to open that up. Just Council's had a chance to kind of go over that and the application information that they provided. In short, the zoning that's been drafted for council's consideration will retain the multi-unit residential permitted use as one of the principal uses permitted on the property. But it also adds in the option for some different forms of housing. So that would be particularly two-family dwelling residential. So any parcel that's created from the site could be developed with at least a two-family dwelling, or a multi-unit dwelling with 3 or more units in it. And then the other aspects is the provision of proposed accessory uses. This would allow for a parcel, if there's multiple parcels on the site, for a parcel with a two-family dwelling to allow for secondary units as well, or what we call accessory dwellings, either at least up to one accessory unit for each primary unit of the two-family dwelling. So you could essentially we could see density in the order of 3 or 4 units on every parcel that could be created here. We've also reduced the overall minimum parcel area for future subdivision as a way to try to ensure that we get multiple units on that site. And there's a host of development regulations that like setbacks and height provisions that are a blend of the R10 requirements as well as things like R12 zone that we've seen on the Mark Creek Landing Rotary Drive parcel, and even some of the R2, which is our most common residential zone. So it's kind of a blend of all of those different regulations to coordinate development on there. The proponent or the applicant here is, I think, generally happy with the proposed zoning. They were also looking for to include in there the provision for single-family dwellings as an option, as well as the opportunity for short-term rental or tourist accommodation as an accessory use. And we've indicated to the applicant that at a staff level we don't support those uses being included in the zone. We do support the idea to kind of open up the options for future development, but we want to make sure we maintain a certain amount of intensification or densification on the site, and given recent and ongoing struggles with housing supply, we don't want to create the opportunity for short-term rental of those of any of the units that might be created on the site. So we've indicated that we don't support those being included as a use, and that was certainly one of the areas that we're wondering if council has any feedback on including those. But otherwise, as drafted, we're recommending first reading of the bylaw to start that formal bylaw review process, and then we'd be some further discussions and refinement of the zoning perhaps with the applicant, and returning for at a future meeting for second reading and consideration of scheduling a public hearing.
Awesome. Thank you, Troy. So just to be clear, this is the, pardon me, the several acres down by Mark Creek that abuts Kevin Amy's Marysville Views development, correct?
Yes, often referred to as the Falls property. It's on the east side of Mark Creek, kind of overlooking the falls, and yeah, you're right, sandwiched in between the creek and the Marysville Views property.
Awesome, thanks. Councillor Goodwin.
Yes, I have a couple of questions, Troy. The first one is, it looks like the lot has actually gotten a bit smaller from what it was. There was a piece off to the south that was also part of the R10 zoning that seems to now be not part of it. Is that right? Are we muted?
No.
Sorry, I had my other mute on. Sorry about that. Yes, good question, and thank you for pointing that out. There's actually not any proposed change to the parcel at this time, but there is a proposed zoning map change. So presently, the kind of upper portion of the property that we refer to as kind of the developable area of the portion of the property, that's primarily the R10 zoning now. There is an overall reduction in the area of the parcel zoned R10, but that is actually to reflect the parts of the parcel that have been deemed unsuitable for development, and they're actually protected from development through covenant. So those are areas down closer to the creek where there's some slope and just unsuitable conditions too close to the creek, and then some other lower lying wet areas that is kind of the conservation area as defined by the covenant. So what we're proposing with the map change is to have the R10 zoning match the parcel boundary on the north and the east and south side for the most part, and then on the southwest side, the zoning would change to follow that covenant boundary, and that way there's no confusion about whether development within the covenant area is permitted or not. And then the balance of the covenant areas that are on the parcel now, they're actually a mixture of, and I think this is more just reflective of kind of map errors in previous years, where this portion of the parcel was a mix of R2 and recreation conservation zoning. So we're proposing to just correct that zoning map by, like I said, applying the R10 zoning only to the area suitable for development, and then the balance of the parcel would be changed to the RC2 zone, which is the recreation conservation zone.
Thank you.
Did you have two questions?
Yeah, well, I would speak to the issue of whether to include single-family dwellings or not. And we started out with the old zoning was looking at a 40 dwelling units, 40 apartments. And under your proposed zoning, the minimum would be 18. If each of the 9 lots had a duplex on it, we'd have 18. If we went to allowing single family, the minimum would be 9 dwelling units potentially. I'd like 40 better because we have such a housing problem in Kimberley. It'd be nice to do that, but you can't make a developer build what they don't want to build, apparently. So I guess I would support your approach to the zoning, and you may end up with more than 18 if people put some carriage houses or 3plexes or whatever. Do you know if the builder is planning to build, or is he planning to sell the lots and let people build what they desire?
I think at this time it's all of those options are still available. I think right now the owner is leaning towards selling the parcel or further subdividing it and then selling individual parcels perhaps. But the option might still be there where they develop at least part of the site. And just to clarify too, your points were all valid there, but just want to point out that there is no formal subdivision plan or anything like that at this point. There's been a concept there showing 9 parcels, but the zoning does allow for some flexibility in terms of the subdivision layout and the number of lots, size of lots. So we could end up with slightly fewer lots overall. We could end up with more lots, but the point is that we want to ensure that there's at least two units on a lot and options for more.
Councillor Roberts.
Troy, on one of the sheets, you've got a couple of highlighted areas. One's a kind of a turquoise and one's kind of a green. And I noticed that that's the zone 10 and the second zone, I can't remember the number on the map. Is this bylaw going to incorporate both of those segments, or are you going to isolate it again into 2?
Yes, again, in referencing that, that's the conceptual lot plan. So the area outlined in blue is the proposed R10 zoned area, and then the area outlined in green is the proposed RC2 zoned area.
And that'll stay.
There'd be no. That's right. Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess subject to the process here, but it's as proposed that there be no development down in the area circled by green, and any of the development on the site would be within the blue area or the R10 zoned area.
Thank you.
Further questions? Call the question. All those in favor? None opposed? That motion is carried. Next up, we have a proposed road closure bylaw for 495 Wallinger Avenue. And the motion is that council approve first, second, and third reading. Councillor Roberts moves. Councillor McBain seconds. Go ahead, Troy.
Yes, thank you, Council. So this is a proposed road closure to close a portion of Leadenhall Street that would then be is proposed to be consolidated with the adjacent parcel at 495 Wallinger Avenue, and that would be in exchange for a smaller area of that existing parcel that would be dedicated as road, which is really part of Leadenhall Street and the what we call the Deer Park Avenue lane. So it's a proposed road closure and then a land exchange. And this is really to kind of correct the parcel boundary or the road boundaries to better match the current alignment of the Leadenhall Street to Deer Park Avenue lane. That was changes that were made as part of the Mark Creek Rehabilitation Project a number of years ago. And so we're really just trying to catch up the parcel boundaries to match the current road alignment. So there'd be no changes in the road alignment, physical road alignment out of this in terms of where the drivable portion is today. but rather it would just be reflected in a parcel boundary change, and ended up getting a corrected parcel for the property at 495 Wallinger. I would clarify for council that Fortis BC has confirmed that there's no statutory right-of-way required for their infrastructure below ground in the area of the road closure. However, there is, as we anticipated, there's a aerial encroachment of BC Hydro and communications lines above a portion of the closed road area, and we're working with those parties to make sure that we secure the proper right-of-ways for them as part of this process.
Thank you, Troy. Questions or comments? All right, hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor? None opposed. The motion is carried. Next up, we have a zoning bylaw amendment, 2692, involving 2881 Black Bear Crescent. We have two motions here. We'll deal with the first, and that is that council provide first and second reading of the proposed bylaw. Councillor Dallum moves. Councillor Kiddo seconds. Discussion. Go ahead, Troy.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, so this is a proposed rezoning or change of zoning for the property at 2881 Black Bear Crescent. The owners, there's a new owner there, just recently purchased, and they're looking to develop a modular home on that site. So it's going to require a zoning change from the current R2 zoning to the R11 zoning, which would allow for the modular housing there. This is, council may recall, a few months ago, a consideration of a zoning amendment for the property just to the kind of south or west of this, closer to Rotary Drive, where council considered a bylaw amendment there for a portion of that property to rezone that to the R11 zone and allow for modular housing. This consistent with, there's been a few other ones, including in this immediate area where that's been considered, so that the applicant here is working towards getting ready for that in anticipation of the zoning change. They've made application for new water, sewer, and storm connections as well. This is kind of a remnant on service lot, so it'll be good to see some development on this site finally. I'll leave it at that unless there's any other questions.
Council. I have one, Troy. Currently, there's a trail that abuts up against that particular lot that gets back out to Rotary Drive. Is that a roadway?
Yes, it is a road right of way with minimal improvement at the time. It's really just been improved enough to work as largely just an egress or rough access for sure. So part of the site planning for this particular site will be trying to figure out how best to provide access or obtain access for that. This area, this Black Bear Crescent neighborhood, is there's some other challenges, I would say, with existing road conditions and other infrastructure. I don't believe it's in the 5-year capital plan at this point, but I believe it's probably coming soon to the 5-year capital plan in terms of an overall kind of infrastructure and access refresh there.
Yeah, thanks, Troy. If you've gone down kind of Black Bear there for the first time and you get to the end of it, it's definitely questionable on whether you should go down that path or not. Okay, further questions, Council? Hearing none, all those in favor of first and second reading? Any opposed? Motion is carried. And the second motion to do with this bylaw is a public hearing to be scheduled for the regular meeting of council on Monday, May the 10th. Councillor Kiddo moves, Councillor Dallum seconds. All those in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you, Troy. Next up, we have the next up we have the 2021 to 2025 5-year financial plan bylaw. And what we are looking for here this evening is first, second, and third reading. Councillor Kiddo moves. Councillor Roberts seconds. Do we have any further discussion on this? We won't put you through the paces tonight, Jim. I think you've covered all of this up multiple times. We'll call the question. Call the question then. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Next up, we have the City of Kimberley 2021 tax rates bylaw. And once again, the motion is that the bylaw be read first, second, and third time. Mover, please. Councillor McBain, thank you. And Councillor Dallum seconds. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Next up is the City of Kimberley parcel tax imposition bylaw, and is also under consideration for first three readings. Mover, please. Councillor Roberts, thank you. And Councillor Goodwin seconds. Any questions? All those in favor? The motion is carried. All right, and we have one item under permits this evening, and that is a development variance permit for 590 308 Street. And the motion is that council instruct the corporate officer to issue notice to neighbors of the intent to allow for the construction of a two-family dwelling. Councillor Dallum moves. Councillor Kiddo seconds. Any discussion? Any comments, Troy?
I think this one is pretty straightforward. It's a new house in the second phase of Marysville Views. The proposed house generally complies with all of the development regulations except for the requirement for maximum allowable site coverage, where they're exceeding that by about 6.5%. So they're still comply with all the setback and height requirements, but their footprint of the building is larger than what's anticipated, or than what's generally allowed. Their rationale there is primarily that they're trying to maximize the footprint, trying to keep as much floor area on that main floor area, just for kind of future and long-term accessibility needs. And that's what's driving the site coverage increase there. But like I said, otherwise it generally complies. It's an example here where we're getting 2 units out of a single parcel, so that's helping to add to the housing supply. But other than that, we'll see if there's feedback from adjacent property owners, residents, and return to future meeting with to report back to council.
Awesome. Thanks, Troy. Comments, questions, council? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Thanks again, Troy. All right, we have several items under new business this evening. First up is the license of occupation renewal for the Rotary Drive Community Garden. And specifically, the council approve a renewal and extension of the license of occupation between the City of Kimberley and Wild Site for that garden on Rotary Drive, substantially in the form attached to the report dated April 26th from the manager of planning, and also authorize the mayor and CAO to sign the agreement once the required notices have been published. And further, we'll do both motions in one this evening, that council authorize the corporate officer to publish the statutory notice of disposition pursuant to section 26.3 of the community charter. Councillor Dallum moves and Councillor Goodwin seconds. Any discussion? I think this is fairly straightforward. Anybody have any comments?
Just wondering how, I'm just
Sandra.
trying to find how long this agreement is.
Till 2026. March 31st,
It's
2026.
proposed as a 5-year agreement, but that's up to council's discretion if you'd like to extend or shorten that term. The previous
Further,
agreement was
Councillor
also
Roberts?
a 5-year
There
term.
it is, sorry, I didn't go far enough.
Good. Okay. Anything further? All those in agreement? Any opposed? The motion is carried. Next up, we have a UBCM Development Approvals Grant application. There's several whereases in the agenda item that I will skip through and get to the resolution, which is that Council of the City of Kimberley directs staff to apply to the UBCM Local Government Development Approvals Program to fund 100% of the estimated $200,000 cost of proposed process and actions to review and improve development approvals procedures, and further that council authorize the CAO to sign the application on behalf of the city. Mover, please. Councillor Goodwin, thank you. Councillor Roberts seconds. Discussion. Take a question from Councillor Goodwin first.
Yes. I don't know to Troy or Scott, I'm not sure. It looks to me like this is an opportunity for us to do a bit of an assessment of development cost charges as we're viewing everything else. Is that part of the plan?
That is not part of the plan, but
I don't see it excluded from the grant program.
no. I've got a report which I'm hoping will be to council's.
Okay, I thought maybe
Here soon.
I thought this was you leaping on an opportunity to.
No, I apologize. I haven't exactly leapt on that opportunity. It's taken some time, but I'm just kind of waiting for us to get through the budget process.
Okay.
Bring a report on development cost charges forward.
Well, maybe I could talk to Troy. Is there any way that could fit into this review, Troy?
Yeah, I think certainly some aspects of that I think can and likely will be considered. We're still, to be clear, we're still kind of sorting out, refining the specific requests within the grant here. But the general idea is we want to take advantage of this grant opportunity to do an overall review of our development approval procedures, and there's a number of bylaws and policies and everything that relate to that. It's the kind of thing that we're always in reviewing and assessing, but as we're kind of short on capacity and busy with so many other things, it's really hard to kind of put some clear thinking to it and give it the time and attention that it deserves. So we're hoping that this grant opportunity will allow us to supplement some support in that area and bring in some additional expertise and advice on certain areas there. And I think part of that consideration is things like development cost charges or other aspects of financing development or cost recovery of development or related to development activities. Like I said, so there's bylaw and policy review and presumably drafting and drafting of new procedures and bylaws. There's another part of it too, is just looking at our records management and tracking of development applications. We see some opportunities to improve there, and the information that we use. We're quite proud of the planning information portal, but there's a number of ways where we think that can be potentially enhanced and improved to provide better service and make it more effective and efficient for everybody. And it might even include an assessment of software or other digital platforms that relate to digital permitting or, like I said, tracking of applications and communication of the status of applications and where things are at, where development's happening, where it's being proposed. So it's all about, like I said, trying to improve that overall process and communications with the community around development and communications with proponents and applicants around development. And some parts of that might certainly include, like I said, development cost charges or other kind of finance and cost issues related to development.
Go ahead.
So if we got the grant, we would do a request for proposals or something, go to tender and hire some consultants to come in and help us work through this?
Yes, I see at least one or more likely, I think, like a couple of different RFP opportunities where we're soliciting some input and help on those areas.
Thank you.
Anything further? Call the question then. All those in favor? The motion is carried. All right, last up under new business is a couple of check runs in the order of $905,061.50. Move approval, please. Gee, thanks, council.
We were reading.
Okay, Councillor Kiddo moves. Councillor McBain seconds. Is there anything to point out? Go ahead, Sandra.
Was getting to where I could point out with, forgot to put my hand up, sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just checked with Jim to be sure that I had this right, but we have now come to the place where we are in a position to pay out a loan or borrowing from a fire truck that we have been moving towards. And that's 297,000 to some dollars. So that will be off the books now.
Awesome. Was that taken into account on this budget deliberation, Jim? Or do we have a couple of $100,000 of free money?
No, that was already accounted for, Mr. Mayor.
I kind of figured it would. All right, any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. All right, and finally this evening, we have 3 items in correspondence. Could I have a mover to accept? Councillor Dallum, thank you. And Councillor Oakley seconds. Any comments? Councillor McBain, go ahead, and then Councillor Oakley.
Yeah, I really like the idea of adding a rainbow crosswalk. I believe I saw one in, I think it was Revelstoke. I'm not 100% sure, but it seemed like I saw one there. And I guess, you know, I fully support it. I think it's great for our community. It really demonstrates the inclusivity that, you know, that we all want. You know, that our town is here for everybody. I guess my only question would be to Scott, is this something that, I mean, I guess it's just colors. I mean, is it anything that would, is there anything prohibiting us from doing something like this?
No, I think there's a slightly higher degree of difficulty in laying the paint out, but
Yeah, that's all. I just didn't know if there was any, you know, laws or regulations or anything that would be.
it's got to get the colors in the right order.
Right. That's key.
Councillor Oakley.
So I too would like to comment on Councillor McBain's thoughts there. I just wanted to add to that. I found this letter interesting. First of all, if Caitlin is watching this evening's meeting, thank you, Caitlin, for this letter and for going to the effort of that. And also for, she's apparently getting signatures organized. I think one of the things that it triggered for me is a process to wondering, because we're inclusive to, you know, all sorts of different cultures. We are on Ktunaxa unceded land, and we thank them for allowing us to live and play and work here. I would like to see a report from the manager of community development on this and just see where we could go with it. Maybe it would be a rainbow crosswalk, maybe it wouldn't, I don't know. But I would just like to see all the cultures, including Ktunaxa, to have a say. I know when I worked in the Arctic, the high Arctic, they have a lot of the small villages up there have English, French, and then the local Inuktitut on their signage, and, you know, throughout town to, you know, just how they do it. But anyway, I just think it would be nice to get some feedback from one of the managers on this at a future meeting.
Thank you. Further?
I would say that's a great idea. And given the fact that we've got 2 crosswalks right near, you know, right near the plateau, I mean, that's kind of the heart of our town. I mean, there's 2 opportunities there for, you know, for 2 different styles, I guess, of crosswalks. So yeah, I fully support something like that.
Councillor Roberts.
Just as a devil's advocate, let's not forget how hard our weather is on anybody's crosswalks, between all the gravel and all the driving and everything. And perhaps the object could be accomplished in something other than a crosswalk. Just
Councillor Dallum.
in your mind.
So I think this is a great topic, and I like the idea that, you know, we've got a lot of crosswalks. We could have all sorts of recognition throughout town, and, you know, we could be crosswalk Kimberley for, you know, the opportunities. Another piece I like is, you know, our 3-year paint doesn't last a full year. I think, you know, if we could afford it, 10-year paint on all our lines would be great. So we can have 3 years of good color, you know? But that's just it.
Further? Go ahead, Daryl.
Follow up and finally, just towards Scott, do we require a council resolution to ask correct staff to seek a report on this down the road?
Yeah, if you want to report, I mean, I can report on it right now. I just made a short list: Kamloops, Castlegar, Princeton, Kelowna, Nelson, Summerlin, Vernon, Fernie, Rossland, Salmon Arm, Cranbrook, and William Lake. At first glance, all have rainbow sidewalks. So I'd like to be really clear what the report is about, because I think it puts staff in an interesting situation to look at inclusivity and to respond to inclusivity on all the sidewalks. I mean, our entrance signage to town does respect the Tanaha. Small, you have to look close, but that didn't require council resolution report. So I just want to be clear what exactly you're looking for in the report.
Further, Kent?
Physically, we can paint it. It's not it's really not a problem.
Okay.
Kent?
Yeah, I think there's sort of two issues here. One is, should we do a rainbow crosswalk? And one is, are there other ways that we can deal with inclusivity issues in Kimberley? And that's a big topic that could take a bunch of mulling over and work by staff and whatnot. I would say we should move forward with the crosswalk idea, and then maybe kick around at a committee of the whole or other discussions, those other issues. I know I went to a reconciliation conference in Cranbrook several years ago to try to figure out what municipal governments should do as their part of reconciliation with First Nations. And the report from that meeting was never produced. I even got a hold of them 6 months later, and they never actually came up with the recommendations for us. So, but I'm sure we could find some. I've never heard it would be a crosswalk, but Tanaha names on street signs and things like that, which we've done a bit of, could be more. Anyway, that's a big discussion, I think.
Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I just want to be cautious that we're not punting a political decision back to a staff member.
Yeah.
You know, the request is not for inclusivity for everyone. It's very specific.
Yeah.
Even down to where she would like to see the crosswalk.
So thank you, Scott. So I guess a couple of things. I do support punting what could be perceived a political decision back to staff. We have a policy in place right now that precludes proclamations. We have good reason for that to be in place, and it doesn't mean we don't support those organizations that are looking for proclamations. In fact, it was really painful last summer when we had to turn, was it the Boy Scouts, Scott, that got turned down on, or similar?
Everybody gets turned down for proclamation.
Yeah. And so, I mean, and the reason is twofold. First of all, you can miss somebody easy enough, but you also put yourself in a position of having to do something for everybody that comes forward and wanting to do that. And so I guess I would want to understand the unintended consequences, ahead of doing that for one particular group. To echo Daryl, Caitlin, thank you very much for the letter that you wrote. And I think what stuck out for me was how she has already said that Kimberley is a supportive and an accepting community. We already have a great degree of diversity, and it's not like we have to do something to remind people that's where we are. So I think we need to consider the broader implications.
Just a question. Previously, there was the ability for a group, the arts group, to paint the hydrants around town. Would there be any ability for groups to come forward with a proposal to paint a crosswalk? Is that a potential, or is that opening another can of big worms?
Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
There's a couple of issues there. I mean, it does happen quite often that community groups will paint these rainbow crosswalks, or sponsors will paint them. But we also have union considerations, a grievance from a few years ago involving who paints what and when. So I'd really want to look into that first.
Fair. Further comments? Go ahead, Daryl.
I move that the city of Kimberley work with Caitlin to paint one rainbow sidewalk.
I'll second that.
Councillor McBain seconds. Do we have further discussion? Go ahead, Sandra.
I'd just like to add that to everything, there's a season. Right now, the season seems to be rainbow crosswalks. And if we paint one rainbow crosswalk and the desire disappears in 2 or 3 years for something else, then we move on to something else.
Okay, further? Go ahead, Ken.
I would say if anything, we're very late to the game as far as rainbow crosswalks go. The idea has legs. It's been around for quite a while. I would support the motion.
So I don't think we're late to the game. I think we were early to the game, and we have a community that is diverse and extremely welcoming to not only LGBTQ+, but also to all other groups and cultures. So just to be clear, this isn't a Me Too thing. If it's a Me Too thing, I would caution us doing that. Last comment to Daryl, and then we'll
thanks.
call the question.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I see this as just one item as a very welcoming community. It's just one item. I mean, we do recognize that with a proclamation at the start of every meeting now that we are on unceded land of Tanaha. That is a proclamation that is made at every meeting. So we have already begun this process. We are extremely welcoming community. I think this is just one more item that we're welcoming this initiative. I welcome the initiative. I think it's good.
Agreed.
All right, so Maurice, can you restate Councillor Oakley's motion, please?
That the city of Kimberley work with Caitlin Birdsell to paint a rainbow crosswalk. So there is no specification of where the crosswalk should be or.
So, so can I suggest that it's staff we should be working with on this and not Caitlin? With all due respect to the intent behind the motion, I'm not sure.
Okay, friendly amendment. Do you want to reword it a bit? What would you like to do?
It should be reworded because Caitlin's not the one that's going to, determine where this may go or any other details behind.
Okay, fair game. That's fair enough. Yeah, fair. Okay. So Caitlin, even though she wrote the initial letter here and the initiative is suggested by her.
Her request was on behalf of the community.
Yeah. So it would be City of Kimberley staff to determine the placement of a rainbow crosswalk and to fulfill the painting of the crosswalk. Is that what you're suggesting? Is that, I don't know, get the wording right there, but it's not apply here.
I don't know, Scott, if you want to help out here. I think whatever the decisions are and where, I think it should come back to council at a future meeting as opposed to showing up somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's fairly prescriptive where she'd like to see it. I can't see the issue with that, but if council wants to dip their toe in the water and wait for a staff report, we can certainly bring that back.
Councillor McBain.
I was just gonna say, I move that we direct staff to paint a rainbow crosswalk at the crosswalk near the plaza.
So we can't have another motion. There's one on the.
Okay, sorry.
And have a friendly amendment.
I was gonna, sorry, that was my friendly amendment, but I'll let Daryl do that.
You want to do a friendly amendment?
Go for
Are
it.
you cool with that?
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll call the question on the motion as amended in a friendly manner.
Poorly friendly.
All those in
So
favor?
just to clarify, what is your current motion? City of Kimberley staff to determine the placement of the rainbow crosswalk?
Entering.
Yeah, to bring that back to council at a future meeting.
Oh, wait, your motion.
No.
No, no.
No, it's not gonna come back.
To direct staff to,
Just said direct staff to paint it at the, trying to think of the
There are any-
Wallinger at the plaza, right?
Yeah. Right out here.
Okay, you got that, Maurice?
So city of that council directs city of Kimberley staff to paint a rainbow crosswalk at the intersection of Willinger and Spokane.
Wallinger and Spokane.
Yeah, there you go. I couldn't think of the street names.
yeah, three choices.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Got it.
good, Maurice?
It could be like
So
that.
we have Daryl Oakley as mover and Jason McBain as seconder of that motion.
Yep.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
And that motion now is considered as amended. And all those in favor? That motion is carried. That was a lot of work.
You got that.
Anything else from correspondence? All right, call the question on receipt of correspondence. All those in favor? The motion is carried. All right, that is it for the regular agenda. We do have an in-camera this evening. So prior to that, I would like to open up for questions from anybody who may be viewing this evening on YouTube. If you had any questions pertaining to content of the meeting this evening, you may dial 800-741-7180. That's 800-741-7180. And when prompted, the meeting number is 187-888-6484. That's 187-888-6484. And while we are waiting to see if anybody has any questions, we'll move through Councillor matters. And we'll start with Councillor Goodwin this evening.
Just one meeting. We had a joint meeting between the Kimberley Health Center Society and the doctors at the clinic and had a lively discussion about a number of issues. And we are having another meeting of the society itself, the board of directors, tomorrow as we continue the process of onboarding our new directors. And there's lots of energy, and I'm really optimistic that we're going to get very active in the next year or two.
Excellent.
So,
Awesome. Anything else?
nope, that's it.
Darryl.
I guess in this day and age of this pandemic, I have to ask, what is a meeting? Is it a message on Facebook? Is it a phone call? Is it an email? Is it a Zoom? Because I feel like I'm juggling all of those at different times, but I'm not actually physically in some of the spaces together. Cayenne, the Kimberley Youth Action Network, they're working on a presentation to council. They're very busy. They just finished cleaning up McGinty Lake as a project. So Laura Jo will be working with the teams to get them to do a presentation on WebEx to give us an update of what's going on. So that's kind of been in the works for a little bit now anyway. They're getting tired of the pandemic like everybody else. So the Kimberley Underground Mine and Railroad is gearing up for the season and trying to juggle what's happening with the variants, with the with the virus, and to prepare a healthy experience for folks around town with the train. So we actually have a meeting tomorrow night to finalize some of the prices and stuff. It's going to be a great deal, and I hope to see it. I asked everyone to support it this year. They're working very hard to make sure it's happening. So that's it for now, working on those things.
All right. That was a pretty heavy introduction.
Introduction.
The introduction to the couple of things.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Jason.
Well, other than butchering a friendly amendment to a motion recently.
That doesn't count.
No, I too attended the health center meeting as Kent was mentioning, and will be attending the tomorrow as well. And I will echo his sentiments. There's a lot of passion at these meetings, and it's been really interesting to listen to and to learn about what's going on. I feel the the energy of the new members of the group. It's off to a good start, I believe. I do have my first meeting with the library committee this week. I was supposed to be on one a couple weeks ago, but I couldn't attend. So this will be my first one coming up. So looking forward to that, getting to know some people there and see what's going on with their group. So other than that, just plugging away like everyone else.
Cool. Thank you. Sandra.
Thank you. My relationship with the nature park, there's been nothing to report until this week. We'll be having a meeting this week, see what they've got up their sleeve for the next little while. On a personal note, I just finished my 18th presentation on peace building to a variety of clubs. And also Bill and I have managed to get all of the 50 gigantic paintings and pieces of artwork back up on the wall at the powerhouse, and found Bill a long duster with a fluff at the end, and he's dusting things.
No wonder he has a sore back.
I know. And they're just about exactly ready for people. They just are hoping to be able to go.
Thank you, Sandra. Nigel.
Nothing to report, just getting myself back to being fighting fit. And
You're back.
doing better, thanks.
Good to
Getting there.
Good to hear. Kyle.
So nothing official to report, but there is one piece I'd like to stretch my promotion of. The Foundry group that we've talked about it previously with youth services, dealing with addiction and that mental health piece. There's a community project in the works to promote and support Foundry in our area. So just as a little precursor to tickle your taste buds.
Right on.
Could you expand on that?
So Angela at Black Dog is actually looking at creating a template for a collapsible step stool, and it'll have Foundry branding on it. And then she's looking at getting other organizations and businesses in town on board to either purchase the wood, cut the pieces, assemble, put their brand on it and have it sold around town, and really just to get the conversation going. So people say, oh, that's pretty sweet. You know, like what's that about? So that'll be just another great community piece with, members of our little town driving positive change.
Awesome. Thanks, Kyle. Maurice, do we have any calls?
There's no calls.
Aw. It was so exciting. We were on to go.
And we currently have 4 people viewing on YouTube.
Oh, good evening all.
So I'm just going to mention a couple of things. Obviously, there's an awful lot of COVID activity going on right now. I won't bore you with the details, but there's a lot of activity going on. And of course, the provinces talk about additional restrictions last week, or what they had said were going to be additional restrictions, has been a little less than clear. Our accommodator segment in particular is scrambling a little bit to try and figure out exactly what the order was. That will sort itself out over the next couple of days. There's actually a call tomorrow with the Minister of Municipal Affairs, pardon me, as well as Minister Farnworth, to clarify and ask questions on what we do or don't understand. So we're looking forward to getting some clarity on that. At the same time, I had an opportunity to participate in a video that TK are shooting right now on Welcome Back. So it's really good to get in front of maybe 2 months or 3 months or however it is down the road before we start to open up the doors again. And I will say that it has been awesome to deal with something really positive, such as thinking about welcoming visitors and lots of folks back. It's been a pretty arduous 14 months for everybody. And I think we need to stay focused on vaccinations, make sure everybody gets registered as fast as you can. Every adult in BC has an opportunity to register right now. let's get them done because that's really the only way we're going to get out from under, this thing sooner than later. So some positive things happening around that as well. That's all I will mention for this evening. Okay, so as I mentioned, we got a couple of items to deal with in closed tonight. Could I have a motion to move to closed? Councillor McBain, thank you. And Councillor Oakley, those in favor? That motion is carried. We'll take 2 minutes to clear the room and be back. Thank you.